And there she blows. Well, you are now live. Anyhow. So you've been out doing the Christmas light sales and all that?
Mm-hmm. There's a big company in town that's been here for 20 years, and they always send out their renewal packets in July. And as soon as those go out, my phone starts ringing because people are wanting, competitive quotes. They look at theirs and say, oh, that's a lot of money. And so they start calling. So July is usually a pretty busy month for Christmas light quotes.
I would have never imagined that.
Crazy.
I know you and I have talked about Christmas quotes before, Christmas lights in the past, and I've talked to you and a couple others about Christmas lights, and I get shocked by the numbers sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
It's always, that's the one thing that I absolutely wasn't very. I could not make my Christmas lights go. I mean, it was didn't really work for us all that much. So
there you go. Well, good evening, everybody. As we get ready to get started, just want to let you know we invited Brian Paris here with us. Brian Paris used to own a wash company in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now he has his guitar shop. He's got his Christmas light hanging thing that he does, and I think Brian already knows this, but Brian's probably one of my favorite guys in the industry. Why is that? I don't know. I like him because he's honest and sincere. He's all that kind of stuff. And so I think I've probably told him that in the past, but he is probably one of my favorites that's out there. So good to have you with us, Brian. And you sold your business early on.
I did. We were only 3 years in. I was in the kind of the wave of washers that came in 2016.
You're one of the guys that ruined the market. Okay, go ahead.
Something like that, yeah.
I appreciate you.
Something like that, but I never really intended to be in the washing business. I had lost my job, and so we were looking for something to do, and I didn't really know I had this entrepreneur thing in me to be able to start a business, to start several businesses, which is kind of what's happened. But because I've started so many things, I can't keep doing everything. So in 2019 was when I decided I was actually going to wait another year to sell the business, but got an unsolicited proposal from a competitor that that just wanted to have a conversation about it. And that was a year earlier than I had really planned to sell. But if I had not have sold when I did, I would have been trying to sell it in the middle of 2020. So that would have been rough. So I'm glad it happened the way it did.
Yeah, I mean, I sold mine at the end of 2020. I mean, 2020 for us was actually another great year. I mean, we still increased our revenues year over year, $100,000 a year. So we still went up by another $100,000 through that year. So I was pretty happy with that. But because your business was, I think, 3 years old at the time?
It was 3 years old when I sold it. Yeah.
And Ray's was 12, I think 12 or 13, right?
Yeah, somewhere either. Yeah, I started in 2009. So
yeah, there you go. And I was right about the 8-year mark for mine, so it's all good. Anyhow,
yeah, it's been a nice little blend here, And as we were, just trying to get my whole. I'm in a new room tonight, so I figured, I'm just going to go to every room in the house whenever I do this, not from the office, not from the studio, and because we're going to have a special guest in here tonight because. Unbeknownst to me at the last minute, we wound up keeping Finn, so that's why I'm not at the office this evening. Because
can we block Jacob?
Yeah.
Well, Jacob told me he wasn't gonna say anything, but I knew that he was full of it because first of all, Jacob really likes my hair because my hair is rocking, styling.
That's good.
There you go. Anyhow, I knew he wouldn't keep quiet. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about basically buying out businesses or selling your business, just some things about it, things to look out for, watch out for. I know somebody had asked, a little bit about, how do you even value a business? And, there's a lot of different questions out there along those lines. And there's going to be some things that all three of us just can't answer because there's some legal things that we're not allowed to discuss, based on, the selling of our businesses. There are just things that we're just not allowed to discuss. So pricing will be one of them, meaning that we can't tell you what we sold businesses for and that kind of thing. Maybe can't even get into certain numbers on things and that kind of stuff. But
I can. Yeah. But will I? So
will you? Yeah. Anyhow, so what do you got, Ray?
As far as me, Kona longboard lager. I think it's a Kona ale. So
a Kona ale. There you go. I have nothing. I don't even have a bottle of water with me today. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So how would you? So let's start off with this, Brian. Let me ask you: if you were looking to go out and purchase a business, knowing what you went through in the sale of your business, what are some things that you personally would be watching out for that would cause you concern in buying a business? Mm-hmm. Especially a roof exterior cleaning business.
A cleaning business. I mean, I think now I've been approached by other companies, to buy businesses in the past, mm-hmm. and have had decided against doing it, and a lot of that was just because of their reputation in the market. Mm-hmm. So they start doing bad work. Their reputation gets worse. They start losing money, and then the guy wants out. And
right.
So I think you kind of got to know, why it is the guy is, wanting to sell. And in this particular, instance, he had several trucks and trailers and, a lot of equipment, really no contracts left. He had lost them all. And he was selling his business for, $45,000 or something, something crazy like that. And
were you getting the assets with it?
We would get all the trucks and the, and the trailers and those kind of things. But he was just so, I didn't want anything to do with the company name.
Right.
So had I needed the equipment, which I really didn't mm-hmm. at the time. You're buying 10-year-old trucks, and 8-year-old trailers and pressure washers that have been, who knows how they've been maintained.
Mm-hmm. If the company name is toxic, it's really not, worth anything at all. It's, so $45,000 seems like a great deal, but is it worth anything at all? So
if you're going to strip it out and use it for the equipment, because honestly, that is one of the ways that you value your business. You can value your business based on the assets that it has. And so if you sit there and you say, okay, well, I have, a truck that's worth this, a trailer that's worth that, this kind of equipment, that kind of equipment, computers, whatever those things are, you boil your assets up, and then you subtract out whatever liabilities you have. So I've got, I owe X number of dollars on that truck, and I owe X number of dollars on this. And if you can boil that down to a number, then okay, this should be at least the basics, the very bottom end of what my business should be worth. Mm-hmm. And then you start adding in really what I would say is just the goodwill of it, because that's where, a lot of your sale is going to come from some of that goodwill. And if you don't have that, like what Brian's saying, then your business isn't worth anything. And in this case, it almost would be worth less than the assets that he had.
Yeah, if the name of the company is crap, then you're buying a liability, not a benefit to yourself. And and I talked to a lot of people since I've sold my business, and just through Spray Wash Pro and Spray Wash Academy, and it's real strange. A lot of people really have a wrong idea of what their business is valued at. And I've done this through over years and years and years. And I've had some guys, tell me, well, I bought such and such. And I'm like, you did? why? I mean, why did you pay that for it? Oh, well, the guy said it was a cash cow, and he was, I just would make all this money in cash and but it never really panned out. And I'm like, yeah, gee, you think?
Yeah.
He was like, I couldn't. Now, again, these weren't really expensive businesses. These were, less than $200,000 and less than $100,000 in some cases, where guys bought these businesses for. So it wasn't like you were finding an idiot with $1 million. You found an idiot with $100,000 though, which is still an idiot, just a lower priced idiot.
Just on the lower side of the idiot cycle.
So, but it's a savvy buyer is going to want to actually buy assets and to buy a real business out there. And so, now the value, first off though, how to value your business really in any transaction, what establishes value, what somebody's willing to give.
Somebody's willing to pay for it.
Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but, the three people here aren't the ones to value your business or to give you the, again, go into that whole legal advice thing that we're not giving and all that kind of fun stuff. But, there are ways that you can get to an understanding of what your business is worth and how you come about it. But another thing for me is, one of the things that I was asked about was, how do you go about purchasing another business? What would you do if you were looking to purchase another business? And the first thing I personally would do is I would sit down with, let's say Brian was the one trying to sell his company. I would have a sit down with Brian and I would want to see his books as best as I can. Now, Brian should withhold information from me. And what I mean by that is that you can't tell me that, well, one of my biggest clients is Ray Burke. He spends, $300,000 with us every year. Here's his contact information. And my other biggest customers, no. All that information should be withheld. That's not stuff that you get up front and not stuff that you should necessarily be asking for. And if the guy is giving it to you, that's not very good business ethics on his, not ethics, not very good business.
It's not ethics, just not intelligence. He's not you really want to buy a business from somebody that bad. On our closing, we wound up, we literally, gave them our QuickBooks and our House Call Pro with all the names erased from that column, that shows a couple of thousand transactions for a year and the value of those transactions. And then the value of the top 50 customers all lumped in there, but the names of those customers were gone. And that was not actually given until after the check had been transferred to us at the closing table. Mm-hmm. By the way, here's a customer list you just bought.
Because essentially that's a lot of what they're buying in a service style business is going to be that customer list. It's not necessarily the equipment that you have, but like Wild West is saying, you do have to have your, Ray and I do this to each other all the time. We click on the thing at the same time. You do need to have your maintenance records and all that. And, for me, it's, honesty is probably the biggest thing for me. It always is. And for me, hey, Finn, like for me, I think that had I gotten caught in a lie, that would have changed everything as well. So like when the buyer came through my business, I said, look, you see that truck right there? That truck right there is affectionately called Rusty. There's a reason it's called Rusty. It's a rust bucket. The truck is actually in great shape, but the bed on it is, falling apart kind of thing. It's a rusty thing. So, valuing that, you have to be able to put values on those different items that you have and be realistic about those. But I can tell you, one of the things that you also need to look at is what's called your discretionary earnings, the money that you make that you don't necessarily have. Some of that has to do with, your spending, how you do things, how you bring money to yourself that would be discretionary earnings, the things that you make, like if you bought a boat, whatever, that kind of thing, that can be a discretionary earning. If you spill gasoline from your pressure washer into your personal truck. I mean, you know, those kinds of things. They are discretionary earnings. They're money that you maybe not claiming correctly, or even if you are claiming them correctly, kind of a thing.
Well, and that's, you know, that's where they, you know, call this the.
You missed it, Brian. You were looking away. You missed it.
That's what they call the. I'm sorry, guys. That's what they call the owner benefit. You know, because let's say that I make $175,000. Okay, well, and so okay, go on. Stop. We got to quit doing that for a minute. It was cute for a minute. Save the cuteness a little bit. So if your owner benefit is let's say $200,000, because the round numbers are going to be easier for me to work with. Okay, well, so I'm going to sell for 3.5 times or 3 times gross. No, I'm not going to sell my $1 million business for $600,000. Not going to happen on there. So then, you know, I need you a little bit. A little quieter. You're going to have to go out. So you then add up all of the other intangibles. What kind of gas is falling into your vehicle? Do you have health insurance that you're paying for? You know, on our case, we had, you know, a 3,500 acre hunting lease. We had our boat, which was wrapped with spray wash, and the marina fees and the gas and the storage and all that, you know, so all the additional stuff.
Legitimate things.
I mean, we actually wound up finding an additional $100,000 of owner benefits we were taking out of our business. I mean, these are the tangible and the intangibles, and maybe kind of some black hole money, but stuff that the whole reason we own a business, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in ours, I don't know if you went through any of this, Brian, but I think in ours, I can't remember the numbers, but it was, I want to say 68,000 in discretionary, you know, earnings, something in there that, you know, is that other stuff. And, you know, you need to be able to account for it. You need to be able to prove it. You need to be able to show it if you want it to be used as part of that valuation method, because, you know, just simply saying, hey, this is a cash cow and I make $200,000 a year isn't quite going to cut the mustard. When you come to a real purchaser with real money, I mean, you're not going to find somebody, especially the higher in value you get, you're not going to find stupid people giving away $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. I mean, it just doesn't really happen that often, you know. I remember, you know, I was at a show in Jacksonville, and a couple of members came to me and said, well, you know, we're looking at buying a business here in Jacksonville, and he was part of a network of washers. I don't know how else to describe that. And he said, well, you know, but the guy that sold us this said that we could sell ours and it would be worth, you know, $250,000. And, you know, the husband and wife were like, we don't see it. I mean, we see a rusted out truck, a ladder rack, and, you know, he's telling us that there's a lot of cash buyers here. He's been in business for, you know, less than 2 years, and he's asking $250,000 for his business, and we just don't see it. And I said, from the numbers you're telling me, I don't see it either, because I mean, what would it cost to what would it cost to replace that? And it was like, well, to what we saw, it would cost less than $60,000 to replace that. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, so they're asking for $190,000 in blue sky. If you went on a hunt, I said, did they have any commercial contracts? No. Okay. Well, if you went on a $190,000 marketing blitz, could you replace that income? And they're like, oh my God, yeah. I mean, you know, if we went on a $50,000 marketing blitz, we could replace that income. It's like, so for this 2.5-year-old company, you could go in and basically spend $100,000 and recreate all of that versus $250,000, mm-hmm. right? So, Brian, did you have any substantial contracts in place?
I did not.
Yeah.
No, we did not.
I think that's going to be fairly common.
All of our jobs at that point, were one-off jobs, and because I'm a good salesman, I was able to sell a lot of jobs. And as a matter of fact, our one of the things that I did, with the company is that after I sold it, because I remember I told you I sold it a year earlier than I wanted to, or I thought I was going to.
And then you stayed on.
I stayed on as a sales guy, so I stayed on as a commission salesman for the next year, which was good. Which was good for a lot of reasons. One is I don't think I'm a hard person to work with, and I was really trying to be hands off, not it's their business, and so if you're going to buy from somebody, you got to have somebody that can get out of your way, help you where you need help, that get out of your way. And so I did that for a year, and sold more that year than I'd had ever sold before.
Because you were able to focus on sales.
I was able to focus on just sales. Yeah. So that was great, but yeah, I think a lot of the the things that would if I were buying a business, I would. A lot of the companies are personality driven. Like if I were buying Bob's pressure washing, everybody knows Bob, but nobody knows me.
Right.
And so what happens when I take over the company and Bob's not around anymore?
Yeah.
So you can't really count on this $100,000 worth of work or $150,000 worth of work that Bob sold. You're not necessarily going to sell that same amount. You may only sell 30,000 of it.
That's also something that's really important to think about, like whether you're buying a business or selling business, but especially if you're going to be buying a business. One of the things that I think is a mistake is to go out and announce to the general public that, hey, this business has been sold. If it is in a case like the three of ours, where we're really smaller businesses, and I think until you're, I'm going to make up a number, but until you're a $5 million company where you're, a really big business and you've got, 100 employees kind of a thing, where it really doesn't, and maybe not quite that many, it doesn't matter as much anymore. But there were a lot of people that bought because of who I am. And there's a lot of people that bought because of who Ray is, and a lot of people who buy because of who, Brian is. So if you jump out and you just say, hey, look, I own the business and blah, 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 and they don't know who you are, I think that can tremendously impact your sales. And so you really need to think about that. But it can also be to your benefit if at that time the company had, or that person has a bad reputation, and you want to get away from that reputation, and you could say, hey, we purchased the business and now here's our plans for growth and to better serve you, those sorts of things. So
I would also add to that people may not have bought from me so much as from Spray Wash or the image of Spray Wash, because we always worked very hard about not doing Ray and Tanya and doing the corporate Spray Wash, our team,
I did the same.
Our this, our that. We were trying not to do this is Ray and Tanya's pressure washing so much. So I think it's real important now there's nothing wrong with having Ray and Tanya's pressure washing, but if your eventual goal is to sell a real goings concerns, functional business, not Ray and Tanya's pressure washing, which is worth the cost of the equipment and a little bit of goodwill, then you need to make it more corporate. And I don't mean slick and polished, but it's going to be Cajun soft wash. It's going to, it's going to be Spray Wash. So
yeah, I completely agree with that. The only thing is like when you deal with certain of your corporate accounts,
they do know me. Yeah, and
then it's not just the Spray Wash. Then it's dealing with you as a person, and you're building relationships. Again, that's one of the things that we teach a lot about, is building relationships.
Right.
And without those relationships, it's harder to maintain business.
After we were closed, we even had the big corporate meet and greet, and where on our top 20 customers, corporate came over and spent 2 days, 3 days with Tanya going by and getting a handshake meeting with our key accounts over there, going, okay, very nice to meet you. You know, here's corporate. We're still your contacts. We're going to be in there. We're going to be doing this. This is something else too that, so all three of us kind of sold a little bit differently in a different style buyers. Doug, you were in and out in 30, 45 days, right?
No, I had I don't remember what commitment I had to him. I think I had all right. So I had a 30-day written contract. Might have been a 60-day written. I think it might have been 60 days that I was contractually obligated to stay with him. But this is where, for me, it was also different because, I got the chance, him and I got the chance to sit, shake hands, meet each other, know each other. I sold to him cheaper than I probably would have sold to anybody else. It had nothing to do with price. Trust me, I want to get as much as I can out of my business, but it was also very important for me because my company was my family as well. And so I have a lot of respect for my guys, and I like them. And, matter of fact, one of them called me this weekend and said, hey, my lawnmower's not working, replace the switch, whatever. Went over to his house and helped him figure out what was going on with it. So it was important for me as well to make sure that it was somebody that was going to take care of my family. And so that affects things for me as well. In that, but I had 60 days, I think, but I also had the verbal communication with him and the handshake of it that, I'll be here for you for 5 years. I mean, I don't care. I will help you forever, kind of a thing.
And so Brian was a year before you were selling for a year, right, Brian? And
and I had the option. I had a 2-year non-compete, so I really couldn't work for anybody else for the first 2 years. After the first year, I didn't really want to do that anymore because I was trying to build my Christmas lights business. I had opened my guitar shop. I had other things going on that then COVID happened,
right?
And so I still sold $30,000 worth of work just accidentally, during COVID. I still had that opportunity to sell for the full 2 years, but at that point, after I'd kind of finished my commitment with them, they said, "Would you just consider, just selling on commission, no weekly stipend or anything, which is I was getting before, just straight commission." And so I did that. And then when we, like this is my guitar shop here, and we got shut down for 8 weeks. And so I had to do something. And so I just had people calling me that knew that I did that, or, who could I get to pressure wash my house? And so I sold a lot of work, even in 2020, I sold a lot. But I couldn't do anything.
I want to address something real quick. We'll address David's question here real quick. But Scott Torsey says, I didn't realize Dougie was such a nice guy. What he really wanted to say was a stupid guy. And I know what you mean, Scott. So, hey, leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just wanted to get that.
Let's talk about David. I've had that up there for a while, and I'd love to get on it. I put it up there because it's so important, and 100%. And in fair disclosure, David sells an amazing operations manual, employee manual. Y'all reach out to him, send him a message on Facebook. Incredible stuff, for your business. I think, can you get that through Pro? Did we make David a reseller in Pro? And if not, we need to, Doug, because we've talked to him before about doing that.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the
things we can do with that.
Done. But yeah, absolutely. System, especially whenever you wind up with a large corporate buyer like I had. I mean, for those, I was purchased by Fleet Wash vis-a-vis, Crystal Clean, Fleet Wash being the largest pressure washing, company in America. Systems are huge because I guarantee you the big guys have systems and they want to be able to integrate your systems into theirs, and they're going to make you integrate their systems into yours. And it's not a question to be nice. It's going to be a question of, yeah, you got to, and the more that you can get your team and your people on board with doing systems, the easier the transition's going to be. Also, you should just be doing systems anyway. Any successful big business, and I'm not talking about, I'm a guy, and nothing wrong with this whatsoever, and doing $100,000 a year. I'm talking whenever you start getting up to that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 range, those guys have systems.
Yeah. And so in order just to keep things going in the right direction, and this is where it gets back into even knowing what your numbers are and all that, having those standard operating procedures, things that you do, that's going to help legitimize you even from a buyer's perspective, and having those right systems in place and having those right things in place. It's just going to help you in the overall thing. A lot of it's going to boil down to numbers, but the numbers are also swayed one direction or the other by the standard operating procedures that you have or that you don't have, or those things. And the same thing with the equipment. If the equipment's all leaning towards the not so good side, or the immaculate shape, all those things are going to turn that dial one direction or the other. And so you want to have everything to your best benefit. And I'll even go this: if you're looking, let's say, for example, that you're not looking at selling your business, it's still a really, really good idea to run your business like you're going to be selling it, right? Yeah. So that you have all these things in place, because whether you're looking to buy or you're looking to sell, whether you want to give equity to employees, whether you want to bring on investors, whether you want to just know what you're doing or how you're doing, or understanding where you are, or these things are important to you.
100%, absolutely. It should be important to you. Like we've said it over and over and over again. Run your business like a business. Run it like a business, because it's a business. I mean, literally, run your business like a business, because, well, it's a freaking business, I mean, when Tanya and I sold our spray wash, so I took back a 6-month contract. Tanya took back an 18-month contract. Ironically, kind of shows who they really want, who they don't want right there. Mm-hmm. But because, we ran our business like a business, part of the deal sweetener for us was them literally saying, hey, by the way, we're going to maintain you at here's a chunk of cash. Here's more money than you've ever seen in one place in check form. Here you go. By the way, since you pay yourself a salary through your business, we're going to just continue that salary on, but instead of you paying it, Crystal Clean Fleet Wash is paying that. So I literally got no interruption in income, no interruption in anything, and Tanya and I are continuing on our salaries that we used to pay ourselves with Spray Wash. And we're talking salaries, that are our annual salary ourselves, it's approaching $200,000. So it's kind of a nice little deal sweetener annually. So it works for us. I mean, run it like a business, pay yourself over and over and over again. And that's part of getting into this business mentality of not going, well, I'm just going to keep, whatever's left over there at the end.
Mm-hmm. So did you pay yourself weekly or monthly, or how did you pay yourself, Brian?
I paid myself a salary. We were in court. We were an LLC filing as an S corp, so I had to pay myself a W-2.
So the funny thing is, we just talked about that last week, and here's somebody else saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead.
Yeah. For that type of business, it was important, and there was a tax advantage for us to do that too, because we started out as an LLC, a single member LLC, and so it was really more of it was an LLC, but it was really more of a sole proprietorship. And my accountant, suggested we do the S corp. election, and that was a really, really good decision. Saved us, $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Just making that one change. But yeah, paying myself a W-2, and so interesting thing is I just did a refinance on my house, and so I had to go through all the loan. I'd done that before, where I just had a pay stub,
Right.
But to do that as a self-employed person, I mean, they dug deep into everything. And so being able to produce those numbers, and anybody buying your business should ask for the same kind of stuff.
Exactly. And it's amazing that we can actually, but here's the irony of it. And for you young guys out there, who are doing this, and by you new guys doing it, start paying yourself a salary as soon as possible, because you can get bank loans, you can get mortgages, you can become a productive member of society. And whenever you go out and buy a $400,000 house, guess what? You put $50,000 down, you finance $350 of it, and then you live there and pay it off. You don't have to go and buy it all for cash. So, but if you run your business like a business, you're going to be able to do that. And a lot of guys just don't understand that.
It's a lot easier to get a loan when you can put cash down as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the criteria goes down against you if you are putting money down. If you're buying like a business asset, a lot of times they're going to want a minimum of 20% down. So they're only going to loan you typically up to 80%. Now, residential real estate might be a little bit different, but if you are a self-employed person, you have to have a good financial trail. And that's where the W-2 really comes in, because that is a set thing that you're making every single week or every single month or whatever. And as the years go by, it shows that is what you make. And in fact, I use mine as also as an employee to say, when they would say, well, who do you work for? I would say I work for Lifestyle LLC. Lifestyle LLC owns Cajun Soft Wash.
God, that sounds like a swingers club.
Yeah, there you go. But I drew a paycheck from them, and so every month it's right there. I can show that. It's me that owns the company, but the W-2s help me to show that yes, I can take out this loan and I can afford to pay it back, and that's all part of it.
That's a good point. We keep because all of us are on the other side of this conversation, what we're trying to talk about, but that was, I really wish that I'd had that, because the whole LLC thing was really hard because Tennessee Soft Wash was our LLC. And so when I sold that, I mean, it was really difficult. Now, had I set up my own LLC, like a, B Paris LLC or something like that, and I owned the other company, it would have been a whole lot easier to sell.
That is something that was, from my background too. I knew starting out, I come up with the corporate structure and then do a DBA. I can have my Lifestyle LLC is my corporate entity, and it can DBA as many things. I was going to start a pressure wash store of sorts, and it would have been owned by Lifestyle LLC, but I would have DBA'd as whatever that company was.
I am going to start a pressure wash store. I see a true power wash store franchise, which I'm starting to slowly get out there, and it'll be owned by RTB Consulting LLC. So it'll be a DBA as that, because just as we had Spray Wash Exterior Cleaning LLC, we've learned after this sale, we should have had like kind of a master LLC on there and run all the other little sub LLCs through there. So, I want to get to a couple of questions here. Brandon Cody, SOP packets, standard operating procedures. David Duramo he was listing on here. He does them. David, feel free to put up the ordering information on here.
Put the link up there.
It up online, but Stephen Button, if Steve Button says it's amazing, and I'm telling you it's amazing. Doug's seen it, he's amazing. So Steve Button is probably has a larger company than all of ours put together. And if Steven says it's amazing, it's amazing. No, you're fine, Dave. It's quality information. I mean, you're welcome to do the
David, we don't have a problem with it at all, brother.
Yeah, trust us. If we didn't want to do it,
we would just block it off. But no,
exactly.
We're asking you to do it.
But we do need to get together and start selling that through Pro for guys. I'd like to see a. So there it is.
There it is, right there.
Yeah, pressure washing SOPs. Y'all look into that. So Big Oso said, should he start as an LLC and tax it as an S corp? Start off as an S corp. I am not qualified to give that information out. I would start off.
Brian Paris is the one you want to talk to about that. He is extremely knowledgeable and he's legally tendered and all that, right, Brian?
Right. Yeah, I pay a CPA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there you go. That's the operative words. I mean, if you need to know how to get a rust stain off of Hardy Siding, I'm the guy. If you need to talk about selling a business, pressure washing business, I can probably tell you pretty well there. Doug can tell you, Brian can tell you. As far as should you operate as an LLC or as an S corp, way beyond my wheelhouse. I just know that.
I'll say this. I mean, I ran as an LLC and taxed as an S corp, and Ray ran as an LLC, taxed as an S corp, and Brian ran as an LLC, taxed as an S corp. So I think it's a good way to go, but we're definitely not qualified to look at your business.
I will say that when my CPA advised that I moved to that structure was when our company was making a lot more profit than I was paying myself.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because otherwise all that money that you make is taxed, Social Security tax and everything. So
I mean, and that's exactly why we can't answer that question.
If you want to hear what what my attorney or what my CPA told me, the way he explained it to me, and he said, okay, we're moving from an LLC to we're an LLC filing as an S corp, and he gave me the reasons, and I literally said, well, okay, where do I sign? And because I did not understand, he was speaking CPAEs, and it went way over that head,
Yeah. And if you put enough polish on Ray's head, it'll fly.
Yeah, it catches that slick surface right there and just goes,
There you go. David, we'll do that. We will set something up. I do like this. I mean, there are lots of companies out there that rent or lease to themselves. Like the building that I bought was it was in the LLC. I mean, in Lifestyle LLC. Not as Cajun Soft Wash, so I could have leased it, should have leased it to Cajun Soft Wash. I didn't, which was a mistake on my part. But I should have been doing that the whole time. You should be leasing, things out to your own company, that kind of stuff.
I've heard of guys leasing, instead of writing off the truck payment they have. I've heard of, and I don't know. Again, not qualified to say this is you should do this or shouldn't do this. But I've actually heard of guys, and they're still around, and they haven't been to prison yet. But they are leasing they wrap their truck, and then they charge their company back advertising from the LLC that owns their truck. I mean, there's lots and lots and lots of little tricks and gimmicks and things you can do. Because again, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. But remember the big part of this, all in all, before you get to doing this, you got to be making something. You got to actually be trying to make a profit before any of these tips and tricks will work. And the whole subject of selling the business, which is tonight, or valuing a business, you can have every tax advantage in the world, but unless you're making a freaking profit there, they really don't help you that much.
Yeah, you've got to be able to show that there's money being made in that business. I mean, it's the same thing going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Even if you want to get a line of credit or you want to borrow money from the bank to buy a truck, you have to be able to prove that the money's there to be able to do that.
And actually, though, I do want to point this out, though. You did say something, but, the IRS rules are, there's actually a lot of people that make a lot of money by losing money
By
in
losing
business.
money, yeah.
And you know, the IRS rules don't say you have to make money. The IRS rules is like you have to intend to make a profit. So, I mean, I could sit here and buy and want to run a deep sea fishing charter business and write off, you know, a 200,000 Cape Horn or something, just with the intention of running this business and making a profit. And if the business fails, the business fails. Or if I don't make a profit, I don't make a profit. So it is what it is. You don't have to make a profit, but let's face it, you got to make the money somewhere to begin with, so you can lose money other places.
Yeah, Big also, I don't believe that that's true. I think that there was something like that. Again, we're not tax advisors and all that, but the deductions thing now, I believe that some of that has changed a little bit. You can, but it still has to be over time. You can't take 100% write-off on certain amounts of things nowadays. I just had that same discussion with my CPA probably 6 weeks ago, because I had some cash come in because I sold my business, and I wanted to get rid of as much of that income as possible. And so, I'm like, hey, what if I bought this and bought that and bought this? And she's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You can't just.
I know a couple of years ago we went, and it was again in December. My attorney called me and he said, last year I bought a tractor. Year before that, I bought a 250. And he said, hey, you're about to spend some money. I was like, I am. He said, well, yeah. He said, either on yourself or with the government. And yeah, there was a rule. I don't know if it's still available or not, but it was the luxury SUV, or you could use it on trucks too. But you could get 100% write-off on certain vehicles that
certain things,
a certain poundage, that had a certain cargo capacity, that had a certain, et cetera. And it was really funny because like Escalades and big 250s were it. A lot of guys got their butts handed to them because they were buying F-150s, but with the new aluminum bodies, it didn't meet the poundage requirement on there. So it was kind of humorous. Always figure out, these information. This is why you go and research it, and you talk to a CPA, and you don't take the stuff.
Get you an accountant for that.
Because this rule could have also ended as well too. So find that out. My CPA said, well, honestly, in your situation, because I'd say, well, hell, let's buy a second one. And he said, you'd be better off to take the standard depreciation on your wife's vehicle, even though it met the same requirements, and then take yours and take the big chunk depreciation on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All righty.
Actually, if you think about deduction, so every vehicle you use for business is 100% deductible. I mean, the question is, do you want to take it up front or take it over a period of time?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, though. Some of it, she said, certain things you can't take 100% the first year. Some things you can take 100% the first year. And so, again, not knowing what those rules are. I know I looked at, somebody's mentioning a high top van, and that's one of the things that there is. That's one of the things that I was looking at, because for the power wash store thing I was going to do, I was looking at doing a high top cargo van that I could send out all over the place. And she said, that's great, but you won't be able to write that off in its entirety this year. You will have to take depreciation on that. I almost said depression on that. So, it's not always what you think it is, and not knowing all the rules. Man, it's just so much better to have a CPA in your back pocket that you talk to, find out what your rules are, what your regulations are, and all that kind of fun stuff.
100%. Y'all, excuse me 1 second. I got a call of nature. I'll be right back.
Sure. Let's go ahead and let's talk about, again, I want to go back to the huge convention real quick and make sure that I get the plug in for that. Don't forget that if it's something that you're considering going to, I think that they were saying that the hotel rooms are starting to sell out. So get yourself your hotel room booked if you're planning on going. If you're not going, you don't know what you're missing out on. Brian, you have been to the huge convention before in the past, correct? And you've been to some other conventions. Well, matter of fact, you were in Atlanta.
I've been to Huge in Atlanta, and wasn't it in New Orleans?
Yeah.
So I went in New Orleans as well. So I've been to 2, and they're awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where you, I mean, it's not just the classes that you go to, it's the camaraderie. Again, we go over this all the time. We beat it like a dead horse, but it's true. It's true. So what would you say is one of your biggest takeaways from going to a convention?
Absolutely putting faces to a lot of the names that you see in all of these groups. Sitting down with guys, for dinner and building relationships is so important in indie industry, really. But, if you're going to do business, I mean, you can't do it by yourself. And meeting guys. I mean, you were one of the first guys that I met, and you actually gave me your phone number for some reason. So I remember calling you from the very first, standing on top of the very first roof I cleaned. I called you. I was like, it's not working. It's not working. I did what you told me. It's not working. And you walked me through it. And so, I mean, having relationships like that is so important. And I would say by far, that's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. You go and you sit in the conferences and you take notes, and you take those notes home and they go somewhere, and you may or may not ever look at them again, but the relationships for me is so important. That's a core value for me anyway.
And that's really important there too, as you were saying, especially when you're very first starting out. And I mean, I think it goes even way beyond that, but when you're starting out and you're not sure about certain things, or you're trying to go to that next level, you're trying to scale up a little bit, having somebody that you met. I mean, not saying that I wouldn't have answered your phone call had we not met, kind of a thing, but having that name and that face and getting to know you and know, hey, this is a good person, that kind of a thing. Because for me, I get phone calls a lot of times, and I can tell over the phone sometimes what type of person that really is, and what their end motives and goals are, and how they approach that conversation quickly determines whether or not determines my level of help, if you would, because I'm all about helping people. But if you're going to take advantage of somebody, I don't want to help you. That's just it. So being able to meet people face to face, you can get a better understanding than you ever will on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So. All right, MTH Power Wash says, in order to write off a vehicle acquisition that is wrapped but not towing equipment, does it still have to be commercially insured on my policy? That you're getting into a tax question that's going. So it looks like you're getting into a tax and insurance question both at the same time. So can you write it off or any part of it? Again, I'm going to point you back towards your CPA. You should be able to, right? But it's wrapped, but it's not towing equipment. To me, in the insurance realm, it doesn't matter, right? If you have a wrapped vehicle and you have just your standard homeowner policy on there, I think the potential to open yourself up to misery is pretty high.
Absolutely.
I was in an accident. I had my truck. It was wrapped. And this was before I got my commercial policy. And my adjuster sat there and looked at me and looked at my wrapped truck and was like, you realize you don't have a commercial policy. And she, under no uncertain terms, let me know that we're going to cover this at this time, but it's never going to happen again.
Well, and the horrible thing is you've just pierced that corporate veil.
Absolutely.
And remember, that's what the LLC is giving you the protection from. Again, not an attorney. You're an idiot if you listen to me for legal advice. But you have pierced the corporate veil. And the whole reason we have these corporations and an LLC is to keep Ray separate from Ray's washing interest or Ray's business interest right here. So, we even went and took the title to my truck in the business name, and we paid a higher interest rate on some vehicles because, hey, I'd much rather have the loan in Spray Wash's name. I'd much rather have this, and so it's under a commercial policy and all that. Mm-hmm. It's worth that extra X amount of dollars for the peace of mind. And
just so that everybody knows, this next piece is a joke, but Yeah, I think it's a really good idea, man. Go out and just put everything in the company name, take out a bunch of loans against the company, but take it in as cash and then fold the company. They can't touch you. As long as you don't pierce the corporate veil.
Right. That's right.
No, you know, it's funny because when my kids were little kids, we started getting credit card things in the mail for them. I'm like, my son's 2 years old. My daughter's 3 years old. Why are they getting credit card offers in the mail? I told my wife, with as many as they were getting, heck, we ought to just go ahead and run them all up and, you know, put the kids $500,000 in credit card debt apiece and then let them go bankrupt.
When they're 18 years old and say, see ya, bye.
What do I care?
So, I mean, I would say, I mean, from my vast legal experience, I would say an LLC is the bare minimum that you need to keep it separate. But again, remember this, guys. The minute you start buying pizzas and rounds of beers for your family and non-business expenses out of your business account,
you're opening yourself up.
You've just opened yourself up. The minute you go out there and just and start making cash, you know, woo, it's my business. I can do what I want to. And you start, you know, ATMing it, you've opened yourself up on there. The business has to be run like a business, you know.
Going out and posting on Facebook and all these other things about what you're doing with your money and, you know, different things like that. I have seen it, and I think it's the most ignorant thing you can do, because if you don't think that if they're going to audit you, I mean, I'm not trusting anything. I want to make sure what I put out it doesn't put me in any harm's way whatsoever. So,
I mean, you know, the CEO of Coca-Cola or Pepsi isn't going out there and buying himself something with his corporate Coca-Cola card. Neither should you.
Yeah. You were going to say something, Brian?
I was just going to say there are provisions on your insurance to be able to use your personal vehicle for company use. When I first started, that's the way my work truck was set up. Mainly because I didn't have $1,500 a year for the insurance, you know, to do a commercial policy. So, and at that point I was doing all the driving. And so, but they set me up as I think they called it an artisan contractor policy. And so they had to know that I was using it for business use. But I couldn't let anybody else drive it. So as soon as I got to the point where I had a lead tech that I was sending out on jobs, I had to switch it over.
And
there are lots of guys that run businesses that don't have commercial insurance.
And this is where states are actually going to differ from, you know, literally state to state, you know, definitions and policies. And also, I mean, it's real easy for probably the three of us to sit here and, you know, kind of high and mighty and say, well, you need a commercial policy and you need this and have an LLC.
Yeah.
Trust me, I was not compliant whenever I started. Most of the guys that are just starting out, you're not going to be compliant. We understand. The insurance, though, don't screw around with that. The LLC, don't screw around with that. Make it your goal to get as compliant as soon as possible. It's so important. But yeah, I'll be the first to sit there and say, yeah, starting out the first 2 or 3 years, not so much.
Yeah. Even, I mean, you know, the only things I can say I probably did correctly right off the bat, you know, is, you know, getting the correct licenses from my parish or county or borough, depending on where you're at, you know, and making sure that I filed filed as a company. You know, right off the bat, I started off as a single owner operator kind of a thing. I quickly launched into Lifestyle LLC because I knew that was the right way to go for my background. And it really doesn't cost that much to do that. And then when I launched Cajun Soft Wash in its full entity, you know, then I could do a DBA. Trust me, those things are they're minimal cost and maximum protection if you do them right. It's if you do them wrong, you know, if you pierce that corporate veil, which is actually fairly easy to do, I think.
It's very easy to do.
You can put yourself in trouble, and then it's all for nothing.
Right.
So I've been doing the estimates that require in person with my daily runner but the truck doesn't move unless it's work. I don't want the risk. There you go. You know, I think that there's other sides of that too, and this is where you go and you check with your agent, you check with what's going on in your state, and with all these kinds of things. Because, look, I mean, there's lots of people that use their personal vehicle for company matters, whether they're employees or they're not. Brian, right there, I mean, you run around.
I do the same. I do the same thing. I use my personal truck for estimates.
Yeah. And right now, I mean, you're double indemnity because you're using for estimates for the wash company. You're using it for estimates or you're triple indemnity, the Christmas lights, and you're using it for Brian Paris guitar shop. I like your logo, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't own a personal truck, so.
Go. Yeah. LLC, commercial insurance, and for the win, workers' comp, even if it's exemption like me. I personally didn't keep myself exempt from the workers' comp. I paid workers' comp on myself. And you can get the lower rate if you are, like for me, set myself out there as a sales guy. And so I could get a very cheap rate on myself. And then I could classify myself differently depending on what I was doing. So if I was washing, I could classify, I could fill the paper, not fill it out. I kept track of it so that there would be that trail. So that if I was washing,
but yeah, I was an estimator, listed as an estimator until the point, you know, that I had the workers' comp on me. You know, let's circle back around here and talk about the valuation since we you know, that's technically the title of this stream. So, so how do you value a business? Well, first off, you know, anything in the world, you know, this glass of bourbon right here is worth what somebody's willing to give me for it. So that in itself is one valuation. Now, if the person is getting a bank loan for that business, it's going to have to be substantiated most likely with an appraisal or a business appraisal on there. I know that when we listed our business for sale with the business broker, he had a bunch of formulas that he you know, told us, okay, this is what your business should be worth. We're going to go in there. You know, they gave us an EBITDA, which is earnings,
debt, income,
taxes, blah, 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 EBITDA. And we're like, yeah, not a chance in hell. This, you know, you're saying that our business that's kicking off, you know, 250, 275 a year is worth, you know, $600,000. No chance in hell am I selling my business for that. And I said, well, you know, the numbers are what the numbers are. I was like, I understand. I said, I also know about the earnings multipliers too. And there's lots of businesses sold with an earnings multiplier of what the owner benefit is, or the owner take home, or owner's discretionary income, which we've talked about earlier. So a lot of service businesses wind up selling between 3 to 4 as the multiplier of the owner's benefit on there. So that's the owner's salary plus the, you know, all the awesome, the goodness, the marina fees, the hunting lease, the rifle that I bought because, you know, to take my customers hunting, the ammo that I bought to take the guys, you know, out shooting with, things like that. All those little things, the club memberships, et cetera, et cetera. The business meetings that I took to St. Thomas with another power washer who he and his wife accompanied us. So we were able to, you know, take a business write-up because we had several meetings in St. Thomas and St. John, you know, during that week in the Caribbean. So those are all part of the owner benefit. And the sales price did actually wind up being, you know, a little more than a 3 times multiplier of the owner benefit out there. And that was a number I could live with when we sold.
Yeah. So you've got things like, you know, your an asset-based sale, which really is, again, whatever your assets are, the things that you own. and then you take and you subtract away whatever the liabilities that you have. And that's if you were a business that was heavy with assets, that would be, a best way to maybe evaluate that business. Our businesses are not going to be that way, because our businesses, although we have assets and we have the liability side of it, most of what we have really is in our goodwill. So we're going to have things like cash flow that you can evaluate a business on cash flow. And I think I read somewhere before, and I don't remember what ours was, but that 20 to 25%. You use what's called a cap rate, and that's basically your cap rate is your rate of return. These are things that help you value and evaluate the business, and you're better off to, depending on what you're doing with your business, I think you're better off to sit down with somebody to help you with that evaluation. And it's why it's also, and that's something a CPA can even help you with. If you already have a CPA, they can help you navigate a pricing structure. So that's something that you can look at.
And frankly, our CPA was amazed that we sold our business for what? I mean, he told Tanya, he's like, you guys did good. And he was amazed. And I felt, well, we're probably a little bit low. I mean, hell, the company that bought my business thinks we were a little bit low. They were a little bit low. CPA thought we were a little bit high on there. It's all dependent on, I guess the perspective is everything. Perspective is everything to who purchased it and who, who's paying for it and the value they're getting on there. We after we were under contract, we wound up getting a couple of $100,000 in unexpected purchase orders just out of the blue. This made for an absolutely amazing time for the purchaser of our business.
Yeah. They got lucky.
And we're very, very happy to I don't want to say got lucky, because they were stuff that was in the works.
We had the exact same thing happen.
And I mean, good for them. I have no animosity or jealousy whatsoever. I mean, I love it. So, Jim, this is Makers. So tonight's flavor. And when am I going to open my store? So my power wash store, I would like it to be opened at the end of October. We'll see. I can't make any promises. I haven't
found a location yet.
What? No, just don't even go there with me.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I'm so sickened. I am going to talk about that place, though, that we talked about, the very close proximity to where I am. And I was sitting there looking, I was like, I could put a parking lot in here. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On the other side.
We'll see. Because apparently that guy isn't going to be back around for a while.
It doesn't sound like he's going to be around for a while. So, there's that.
And this is why
Brian said they're going, I have no idea what these guys are talking about.
Yeah, this is why we don't file firing pins down on weapons.
There you go.
So we were sitting.
I did want to go back. I want to answer Wade's question here. Wade says, hey guys, may I ask a question about brochures? My tech is making us a nice one. Do you think the ROI will be there? Any suggestions on designs? Well, I guess I'll start off with this one. So nice ones, do I think they're worth the ROI? Absolutely not, if you don't do anything with them. A lot of times what happens is guys print brochures and they sit there and they do nothing. Then that's a horrible return on investment. But just like a certification is a useless piece of paper if you don't do something with it. Education is worthless if you don't do something with it. So I think they can be an awesome return on investment. I think it's more of the KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't get too carried away in your designs. Make them capture the attention real quick and make them do exactly what it is that they're meant to do.
Use them. You got to use them.
Use them. Yeah.
You don't use them, you can have the prettiest thing in the world, but if you don't use it, it's useless.
Do you have any free, brochures for your guitar shop, Brian? No. What about for the lighting business?
We've had some. The ones I liked the best were the ones we had for the washing company, and they were a little more geared towards commercial work. which was good. I don't see a good way to use them, if you're not walking in and talking to people, which is hard to do with homeowners sometimes. But the residential tended to go through the websites and the Google and the Facebook and all that. But when I could actually talk to somebody, because I wanted to do, stucco cleaning and things like that, and give people some real pictures of what we could do, something for them to have in their hand, with a written estimate.
We use Keith at KBK for ours, and then Tim Fields for some other ones, and both of those are just design experts, and I've always played around with graphic design and thought I was worth the damn until I actually had some real professionals, and it was worth every bit of the money that I paid for professionals to design my stuff. How much more attractive it was. Highly recommend it.
Tim's done several things for me, and he designed some cards that I use for Christmas lights that go through SendJim. So SendJim's awesome because you can target a neighborhood, you can draw it on the map and send a flyer, a postcard to everybody in that neighborhood. So
I bought SendJim and then never used it.
Same here. I used it one time,
and I think it's an awesome tool.
Just before COVID hit, and just stopped. I mean, we changed our focus up and everything, so nothing against it. So, yeah, here's somebody who knows a little something about flyers.
Yeah, that littering guy.
Pat's used one or two.
How many do you throw per year?
Out this year?
Pat throws like an amazing amount of flyers every year. He's like one of the clip flyer kings. I couldn't say that out. I couldn't say that real fast, but yeah, Pat Clark is a clip flyer king.
I mean, I would bet, if I had to guess, I would bet Pat has probably done over 100,000 flyers this year.
Probably
work. Pat's from my hometown, and so I know people that get his flyers and actually buy stuff.
Holy, look at that. 300,000 flyers a year.
Wow.
Well, think about that, guys.
That's incredible.
Think about that. Pat Clark he and his crew are putting out 300,000 flyers a year.
That's an incredible number, Pat. That really, really is. I knew that because I knew at one point you were throwing out 15,000 for the month or something like that. I knew that. But I didn't realize you were doing 300,000 of them per year. That's wow. And you know what? There's people that have good, bad, ugly, and indifferent thoughts about them. But like Pat just said, it's about consistency. It's about getting your brand known, getting your message seen. And I think that was something else that he had seen, is that it's message over brand. And until you become Nike, your brand, it's something I've said in the past, is that I think for a lot of us, our logo is nothing more than our ego, right? We focus so much on our logo. We want that, we spend all this money on our logo. That's great. But the logo doesn't get you any business if nobody knows what it is, Right. I could put my logo out and it was, recognized in the community, but for the most part, my logo doesn't mean anything. I got to get my message across to you so that you know to use me or what my product and service is.
You know how many times on my shirt, and I'm actually not wearing a spray wash shirt today, but not my my dye sub shirts, but whenever I have my business polos on that just have the embroidered spray wash right there, like the hats that I usually wear, how many times I walk around and people are like, "Oh, do you own a car wash?" So they wouldn't necessarily know that spray wash, was an exterior cleaning specialist. Now, if you saw the dye sub shirt, it was kind of hard not to realize.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, even with the sub shirts, I mean, I got the same thing. It would be, so where's your car wash at? No, it's not a car wash yet.
One of the things about flyers, I used to always keep the flyers in the truck, and I stopped carrying business cards because I don't like. First off, everybody's, "Oh, give me a card." First thing to do is lose the card. They just lose it. So I would hand them a brochure instead, which they can't really stick in their pocket or stick in their wallet. You know, they kind of have to have it in their hand, and they'll lay it on their desk or in their card, because I found my cards or lay it in their, the dash of their car, the pocket of the car, but my cards themselves would get lost. So,
well, going a slightly different direction too. I mean, this is something I don't do or I didn't do, but I would encourage you to do it. And that is, when somebody asks for a card, today's day and age, we've got these stupid phones, right? So have a digital card that you can give them, right? And so you can say, okay, yeah, sure. Mr. Burke, what was your number again? And I'll go ahead and send you my digital card. Well, guess what? I just got their phone number from them.
Exactly.
So use that as a little thing to get their information, right? And then you can send them your digital card, and that's something that they're probably not getting away with, or they're not throwing it in the garbage anytime soon.
Right. One of the things I used to always do whenever I got stopped in Lowe's, Home Depot, out there on the road, I always wore a dye sub shirt. And hey, you have a card? No, I don't. I said, but I'll tell you what, take a picture of my shirt. I said, I've got my website, contact information, all that on here. And they'd be like, okay, that's a great idea. And I'd sit there and go, that kind of thing. And if I didn't get the immediate call, the office didn't get the immediate call, I would wind up within like a week or something getting a call going, so my wife is looking through these pictures and she's like, who is this goofy guy with the thumbs up? And then I remember that I met you at Home Depot, in the pressure washer section. He goes, and so I'm calling you,
Mm-hmm. That's also why it's
in the Home Depot pressure washing section.
There you go. Yeah,
it's my secret weapon. I literally would troll the Home Depot pressure washing. I would literally troll the Home Depot pressure washing section in the springtime and just like walk up and down that aisle. I met so many people who were so frustrated and didn't want to buy a pressure washer, or had started to like pull their old one out for the one time of the year and couldn't get it started. And it was amazing. So yeah, it was a great farm area for me. The other little secret that I have, if you're slow and you have a wrap vehicle, is park your truck or your sales vehicle right outside the rental department at Home Depot. Because you get
absolutely
people that are in there renting pressure washers, and you can always see them. They're snatching it out of their truck and they're pissed off, and the hose isn't rolled up and it looks like a big figure eight, and they're just carrying it in there, and they're
not happy at all. I can tell you what, there are a lot of times I go to, I don't care where it is, let's say Home Depot, Lowe's, grocery store, I go to get my hair cut. It doesn't matter where I go, and I will see wrapped trucks or wrapped cars in the middle of the parking lot surrounded by other cars. And I'm like, that's either an employee or a stupid business owner. Because if you're not parking at the end, or where people are going to see your vehicle, or parking it out by the street and walking up to wherever you're at, oh man, why waste that much money wrapping your vehicle and then don't use it?
I always like, whenever I go to Lowe's, I park, that, and I drive a 250 long wheelbase, so I can't get into most places. But at Lowe's, I like to go out there and park at the very end of the lane as you turn in. So as people are leaving the parking lot or getting into the parking lot, they're literally looking at my 18-foot billboard on there. I'll do the extra 45-second walk. I mean, it's cool. I don't mind.
It's absolutely worth the extra, that little bit of extra time walking back. It's that one thing can land you a job that you weren't even expecting or planning on, or whatever. Same thing with if you're stopped at a gas station. If you're not talking to the person across from you while you've got your wrap truck and you've got your shirt on, shame on you.
Yep. So let's see here. Door hanger's been doing well for me. Absolutely. I love my door hangers. People that know my story, I built my business on door hangers. Huge fan of them,
What if I get towed?
I agree. I am a genius.
I think he was talking about Brian.
I was talking about Brian. Damn.
Yeah.
It's talking about me. Who do you use for making flyers, door hangers? Keith, KBK Graphics, or Tim Field with signtoday.com. Mr. Bleach are my two guys that I like.
I like to design my own, so I always design my own, but then I either order them locally. Normally, what I do.
I'm not going to get towed because I'm not parking illegally. I'm going to park at the very end of the row where nobody else is parking. So my truck's out there kind of alone and by itself, in a parking space just where everybody else is too lazy to park, Yeah,
when we're saying park out by the street, we're not talking about, illegally parking. We're talking about that parking stall that is closest to where everybody's going to see where they're going to be coming in and out and that kind of thing. But the other thing that I'll say is that having something that is noticeable about you and about your wrap and about whatever, because, think about this. If a truck goes down the road and it's got an American flag flying behind it, you notice that truck, right? So, it's about making yourself noticed. That's really what it's all about. So that's where creating a good wrap, a good design, and something that gets that message out there really clear, really quick is important.
So I guess Kenneth is talking about got a call from a property owner. They said they would tow it. It was there for 1 8-hour day. So I guess you left your vehicle there and then went into a Lowe's, like a big box store. I'm going to do it there if I don't have enough information really to make an assumption on here. If it was a private type business, yeah, I guess they could. But if I'm in a Lowe's, I'd be like, well, yeah, I'm in the Lowe's. Come and find me, asshole.
If you're if you're on private property, though, they
do have the right.
Well, I think that they would still have to have some sort of signage and all that, but I don't want to piss them off anyhow. I'm just going to be okay, no problem. I'm going to be there for 7 hours and then I'm good to go. Kind of a thing. So if it's the gym that you go to, I don't know why they would have a problem with that. If you're there and you're going to the gym, right? I parked and checked into the gym so they could tell me, but I still got a phone call. This place actually told my Subaru probably towed my Subaru one other time when I put for sale sign in the lot. My bad. Yeah, that's more understandable on the for sale side because they don't want it to turn into a used car lot. But I'll tell you what, I'll even go. This isn't where our conversation is supposed to be going, but there are times when I approach people that have certain properties. They're right on the busy corner, or there's a 4-way stop sign and busy traffic. And I'll say, hey, let me put a sign up here, and I'm talking a good sign, and I'll wash your house or I'll wash your roof or whatever. Take advantage of those situations.
I would sit here and I tell you, me, I tend to be a little, I don't want to say vindictive, but if you're going to be, you fight fire with fire. I would probably look at my gym. And, you don't want to go to a different gym, but I'd look at my gym membership and say, you know what? I'm going to have to move gyms because your landlord is a jackass and he's now costing you money because I was literally here working out, and he's complaining about my vehicle being parked here. Mm-hmm. And I was, I worked out in the morning. I'm planning on coming back and doing a workout this afternoon because I'm doing the 75 hard challenge, which says I work out, twice a day, but he doesn't want me putting my vehicle here. So, y'all may want to find a different place to move this because he's a jackass.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that.
There you go. Alrighty then. Ways to kill your business. telling your people to move their cars and stuff. I
mean, it really
if
is.
it was like a property, if it was like the manager, I would probably send corporate something saying, hey, yeah, I'm parked there working out, and they're telling me my vehicle's been parked there too long, when I was parked there for an hour this morning, an hour at lunch, and an hour in the evening, because I was working out during those time frames, and they want to tow my vehicle off. Especially I think they would have a hard time with that. If they towed off your vehicle, I think you'd have an easy time of going back and saying, well, you got to pay all my fees. I'd sue them for it, if you had to, because I have a membership here. I can be here, kind of thing.
So. Yeah, I know Steven is here in my market, and there's a moving company here. They don't care. They just park wherever and whenever. They got a spare truck. They'll just drag that thing out and park anywhere. So absolutely.
I like that. I'm always buying stupid crap at Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS because of his age demographics. There you go.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
between the laxatives and the blood pressure medicine, and
exactly. So
been there, done that.
All righty. Well, we've been at it almost an hour and a half now, Ray, and I'm sure Brian's wanting to go home and spend some time with his wife and kids.
And Brian's like normally a quiet guy, so this is the most Brian's talk, and he's talking like word in edgewise. So,
no, thanks for asking me to be here, guys.
Hey,
his board behind him is too organized, so you
got a cool project you're working on. You want to show us? You want to show off some handiwork?
I don't know. Let's see.
I just realized my microphone has been behind my computer the whole time.
This is
be able to hear me.
That's the fun room.
There you go.
All the stuff hanging up. So,
wow,
cool stuff.
Brian has made some pretty awesome stuff.
And you are located in Knoxville, correct?
Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah.
Sure.
So I've got a guitar repair shop here, and I also hang Christmas lights. Well, Christmas lights.
There it is.
So that's just a seasonal business, and then we run guitar repairs the rest of the year, and always thinking of other stuff to do too. So
absolutely. I could recommend moonshine since you're in Tennessee, and
there's a lot of that here. Yeah. I think that market's pretty saturated.
No pun intended, right?
Right.
It's Knoxville. Knoxville's an awesome area. That's Gatlinburg. I got married in Pigeon Forge, so
a lot of people have.
Yeah. In fact, our God didn't think much of our union and burnt our chapel down during those wildfires a few years ago. So, there is that. Oh well, no, but we've been gone. My parents actually they came that close to buying the Aunt Mahalia's Candy Kitchen in Ober-Gatlinburg.
Oh, goodness.
Oh gosh, I would have been 11 years old, so this would have been 1981. And I mean, we were literally, they had an offer in on it. We almost moved to Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area. So a place has been always like a second home to me up there.
Been up there many times. I remember going up there somewhere. I don't remember if it was in Gatlinburg though. I think it was Gatlinburg, and they had all the tasting, so they got all the little teeny tiny tasters that you can do for all the.
It was crazy there for a while. It's not quite as many as that.
Yeah.
But now they've cut that down a lot. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All I remember is I didn't think that I was drinking that much, I was tasting all of it, and we come walking out of that place, and I'm kind of like, man, I don't think I should be hopping in that RV right now. We need to walk around for a while.
So I like clean services. Gonna retire. Perfect. He's a teacher, 18 years. Eventually, be doing this after retirement, full time. So. Love it. Awesome. Good on you. Best, I love this business. I love this business because there's no rules. The only rules are keep yourself safe and your employees safe, and don't screw up the property and make a profit. You know, nobody says you have to be $1 million a year company. Nobody says you have to be a $50,000 a year company. You do it how you want to do it.
Yeah, and safety is probably one of the. We had one of those today on there with the guy with the ladder and in the back of a pickup truck and trying to clean a canopy, and that one of those guys on there talking. I just wanted to say, hey man, wake up, come on, really?
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I respect the hustle, and we're
absolutely.
You know, where the guys are talking about is, you know, there's a you know, somebody had posted a picture of I'm gonna even find, you know, somebody they were doing a what do you call a gas station, middle of the day, with horrible equipment, not the right way of doing it. And, you know, somebody took a picture of it and you know, and posted up. And somebody made the comment of, you know, there was comments on here that said, oh, well, you know, the hustle and blah, 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 which absolutely 100%. I respect the hustle. I'm gonna grab the share here. One sec, guys.
Yeah, respecting the hustle and respecting what he's doing are two different things.
Absolutely. So, and it's just
there it goes.
So here it is. Yeah. So let me. Sorry, I'm on a little bit different scenario than I'm usually.
Why don't you go full screen?
What's that?
Go full screen with it.
Oh yeah, there is that. I gotta zoom in here because I'm on Tanya's new monitor. It's not zoom. Oh, I've got the resolution set down too high. So how do I go up here? So here's a guy right here. And again, I respect the hell out of the hustle. But first off, why are you up there blasting this with a pressure washer on the back of that? You know, that's something that could be soft washed from the ground with a shooter tip and a downstreamer. There is absolutely no reason to be doing this. It's ignorant and it's dangerous. There's literally an OSHA manual going up in flames right now. And second, and most importantly, I mean, if you want to break your own damn fool neck, I get it. But
you're putting everybody else in danger.
You're putting all these other people at risk. You're putting all of your customers, all of the customers and the patrons at risk on here. There's not a single orange cone sitting around there. There's not everybody sitting there watching him, not sitting there actually watching the traffic going on. You're doing it in the middle of the daylight. That is just ignorant all around. I'm sorry. I can respect your hustle, but damn it, you're not going to be in this business very long if you don't freaking learn how to wash and to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because you're endangering yourself, and you know, dear God, get up in the middle of the night and go do that. We did two separate gas stations on last Thursday night. And I'll tell you what, I can guarantee you we made more money on each one station than he did on this one. Because
not only that, you did it much faster, much safer.
We were $1,200 a piece, and we did that after we did our hospital account that night. So, guys, there's real money in here. Stop being a bunch of hacks. Seriously.
All right, so quick reminder, huge convention coming up when is that coming up? August 18th, 19th, and 20th. And that will be in Atlanta, Georgia. And unfortunately, Brian's not going to join us there this year. But
well, Brian doesn't wash anymore.
Yeah, I know it.
I don't have a business to write it off on.
Sell out.
Yeah, you do. You got your lights thing.
Yeah. I guess.
There you go.
You know, Clip is going to be there. Yeah. So and sign up, you know, our plant and property protection. I actually, Doug, I hadn't even told you this. I was laying some tape today in the office about GFIs. We had that question about GFIs. I did a section for plant and property. As we said, that's an ongoing, evolving class. I'm going to put a small little one, on YouTube, but really getting into what is a GFI? What does it cover? Why does it trip? You know, how can a GFI on that side of the house mess with a plug back there? And we discussed that, you know, and what should it do? Again, you know, one of the other things, and we're going to probably deal with this later in the week or next week, we're going to talk about the proper masking and time that it takes to wash a house. Because guys, if you're seeing this video and watching us, if you're out there on Facebook forums and YouTube forums that are telling you, yeah, you can wash this house in 15 minutes, you can wash this house in 15, 20 minutes, stop following them. It's crap advice.
Absolutely. Brian, how many houses did you wash in 15 to 20 minutes?
None, because you taught me so much and I had to dry the ceilings in the
And guess what? You're the guy that wound up selling your business and not going out of business too. You know, Brian, we still use your amazing framework that you built over there.
It's in our plant and property.
We still use that in our class.
Yeah.
That we added that to the plant and property class. Absolutely. All right, guys, I think it's a good time to wrap it up. Brian, really, really appreciate you coming on here with us. Can't say enough about you. Again, really appreciate it. So
glad to be here.
Hang out here for a couple seconds once we end this thing, and we'll chat for a few minutes after that. But I appreciate y'all. And again, y'all, really, really appreciate you coming to hang out with us. And we got another one there, proper masking.
Yeah, proper masking. I mean, here's a homeowner who was amazed. They're taping off the electrical. Yeah. It's sad that we're at a point where homeowners are amazed, because they should come to expect that. That should be part of it. Because you know what? If you pop a GFI, if you burn out an electric, if you cause a short, is it your fault? Yes. Plain and simple, it's your fault.
Yeah.
As the contractor, it's your fault. Even if it was installed incorrectly, it's still your fault.
There you go. I'll be there. I tried researching the PPP class, but the dates and document links seem to be off from the huge site last week. From the huge convention site?
I don't know. I know that if you go to plant and property,
go to www.plantandpropertyprotection.com, and it's right there. I believe the links are right there on Spray Wash Pro and Spray Wash Academy as well. So. But plantandpropertyprotection.com, www.plantandpropertyprotection.com.
As a backup, there's
the direct links for it are right there. And we've even got this link right. Let's see where it is. This link right here should take you directly to the form to fill out to be good to go. So there you go. All right, you ready?
Let's do it. Brian, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Peace out. We'll see y'all Thursday.